Hello, I'm Somi Aryan. I'm the founder of the think tank for women in business and technology and the FemPeak platform, with the mission of raising women's socioeconomic status. Some people believe that women are not as good at coding, engineering, or more technical jobs, and that they are naturally more drawn to tasks that require human interaction, like human resources or marketing. I happen to be skeptical of this line of thinking because we simply do not have enough data that takes into account all the different factors that shape women's preferences towards these areas, such as the societal conditioning and educational or cultural pressures. I think we cannot make such sweeping judgments until we have a society where boys and girls are brought up with an equal amount of encouragement and opportunities in these STEM fields. In today's podcast, I discussed this topic with Christophe, the president and CEO of Bentley Motors in Americas. Christophe became a good friend of mine when I first interviewed him for my documentary, The Millennial Disruption, which went on to win several international awards. I find Christophe to be one of the most forward-reaching and open-minded industry leaders on any topic I've ever interviewed him. So here's my conversation with Christophe Georges. How can we get more women into business and technology? And what are some of the challenges? What are some of the reasons why we don't have enough? And why is it important to have more?
Do we need more?
We need more. What? Do we need more? I know we will figure that out, right? Basically, this is going to give us a possibility to kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that we talked about. So for example, here you said only 25% of graduates from engineering schools are women. So even if companies want to change the system, and some of them do, the pool of women in that industry is not very big. Before I ask you why that is the case, I'm going to ask you this. Is it actually important to have more women in these fields, in STEM fields?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's very important to support diversity in companies, and having more women in companies is part of diversity. I believe it is enriching companies in what they do, and diversity is bringing overall much more qualitative interactions and creativity outside of representing as well a little bit more the population and our customers too. But companies are becoming much richer when they support diversity in the wider sense. So for us at Bentley, this is something in which we are quite focused to attract, speaking about women now, to attract more women in our business, and obviously as well as retaining women we have and offering career paths, mentoring, developing skills, competencies to allow them to grow within our organization, because we want to have a fair representation at all levels in our company. And we have programs in place in order to encourage it. So we are quite proactive. Diversity is just not a theoretical or intellectual notion we have or idea. No, this is being materialized out of clear actions we are doing and programs we are implementing to support growth, career growth, and career paths for women in our organization. But of course, we have as well to attract much more women to our business. Car business is extremely product driven in the way that most of our competencies are there to develop new cars. So you need a lot of engineering resources and then obviously production. In this area, as you have said before, the pool of women applying and coming out of engineering school is not that wide. This is creating a challenge, and this is due for many reasons. It's historical. It's linked to a center of interest and preferences as well of women. And then you can ask the question if these preferences have been influenced to them by parents or teachers or whomever, telling them that it will be better, it will be probably better for them to go to communication and marketing or PR and to do this kind of jobs where naturally we have a much higher representation. I believe it's a combination of both. It's a combination of individual preferences and orientation. Students are choosing, women students are choosing to develop their careers and what they want to do in the future, as well as all influences and bias, as you will call it, they have had through their young ages. You know, it is not an excuse for anybody, and this is not a reason why we shouldn't attract more. And it is part of our role to be proactive and do what we can to correct it. And again, it is not just to be proud of having a higher share of or proportion of women representation in our business. We just believe that it is adding value and benefits to the organization.
Christophe, can you give an example or a few examples of if we don't have enough women in engineering and technology, like say, for example, within the automotive industry, especially now as we are using more artificial intelligence, as we are developing driverless cars, what are some of the dangers of not having women or female perspective as we are developing these new products?
There are quite a lot, and I don't want to repeat myself, but if you would just focus on emotional intelligence, I believe having a different gender and more diversity in an organization will give much more emotional intelligence, which is absolutely essential for the technology you have just mentioned in terms of AI and so on. But all these technologies represent as well an opportunity, because when you have big changes in an industry, and car industry is a good example, moving towards electrification, later at a different step, autonomous driving and so on, and being much more connected with different solutions. Every time you have a change of technology is an opportunity to acquire new competencies and to acquire new talents. And I believe it is an opportunity for women, if they are attracted in technology, to step in without doing mechanical engineering studies anymore, but going to the new, taking advantage of these new technological trends to be more relevant for the businesses tomorrow, and the car industry is a good example.
That's a very good example. Like every time there's a change, there's an opportunity. That's a very good point. One of the challenges that I'm facing as I'm discussing this with a lot of younger people, you know, trying to get more women into technology, I'm finding it difficult sometimes to get them interested. You know, like because there's so much distraction, social media, you know, there's a lot of different ways that young women are being driven to. So it's not every day that I meet young women that say, yes, you know, I really want to go and learn about new technologies or engineering. So I don't know if it's okay to say that you have a few children, right? You've got experience as well. How do you go about, you know, when you look at, you know, your family environment, and when you think about, as we are creating content to attract younger women to technology, how can we change the balance to make more, say, from early age, to make more women interested in technology?
It's an important topic. I mean, children or young people quite often do not know where to go and what they would like to do. They would probably have some admiration for some tech companies like the GAFA or any others, and they will see it as being the greatest companies for tomorrow. So they have some admiration, but they don't exactly understand what they need to do in order to be attractive to these companies. And they need guidance. And you cannot always believe that as a parent, you can provide all guidance which is necessary, because the parents in some cases have lived through this bias too, initially, and they might not be experts in this field depending on what they do today. And they might not know exactly the ways industry is evolving. So you cannot expect all of this from parents. And this is where we as a business, a company or industry have a role to play. You know, and very practically what we do is going through local communities, being represented there, explaining what we do, making young people understand where the market is going. We are partner with a university in the UK, so we sponsor universities. We work on it to develop the talents we need for tomorrow. But this guidance cannot be expected only from parents, because in a lot of cases they don't know. So it is again for us to promote it, to be proactive, and to give support, and to go to the schools or university to explain where the market is going to. Speak to teachers as well, for them as well, to understand a little bit more where the industry is going to. So there is a big role to play to really make the young people touch and feel what will be the job for tomorrow and what could be the topic of interest for them. It's not about influencing them in what they want to do. They need to do what they want to do, but they need to have the knowledge of the possibilities they will get in the future, and then they can make a proper choice.
During the remarks that you had at the conference, you said that companies that don't embrace diversity, you believe that they are not going to be successful moving forward. Can you break that down a little bit more and talk about in what sense they will not be successful, and what do you mean by that?
I am always against the single view. Yeah? So if in a company or in a community or wherever, as a group of people, we have all be formatted the same way, and we all work the same way, and we think the same way, and we have the same background. It will be quite pleasant to work in such an environment because you don't get challenged so much. And everybody agrees with everybody because it is kind of consistent with what you have learned, and then you have a single view. But this single view in the current world is very detrimental to the progresses and the development and the evolution a business needs to have. So you need to be confronted into other views, way of working, way to apprehend problems, processes, and so on, from different culture, gender, races, whatever, in the wider sense. And this is where you start to get challenged. And it's not always, when you are in a group of diverse people, it's not always comfortable, because you get a lot of challenges, and then you have to manage, I wouldn't say manage the mess, but manage a lot of different views and debates and discussion. And yes, at the end, you need to make decisions. But it is really enriching the debates, and you find a solution you would have never found otherwise. Never forget, you know, once I was running European operations, and we had 13 different nationalities in our small office in Berlin. We were 40 people approximately, with 13 different nationalities. So German, French, Italian, Russian, Greek, from Netherlands, from a lot of different places in Europe, different cultures and background, and a small team with so much diversity. And I was running it. It created so many fruitful debates and so many challenges in the way we do things and we operated. But when you can process it, and when you can find alignment and finally make decisions and manage it, you are becoming much, much better, much more creative. You have positive interactions. You are finding solutions you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And this is totally the opposite of having a single view, as I said before. So, you know, when we speak about women today, it falls into the same category for the same kind of benefit in a company, in a business. So it is totally beneficial for companies to have women and diversity overall. And that's what we are promoting. We know it and we want it. We want to get challenged. We want people coming with other ways of looking at it. When you see in the last years, how many businesses have been disrupted with new technology, and especially linked to digitalization. We have faced disruptions everywhere, and this is not going to stop. It will continue. But we used to work for the last 100 years as Bentley, because we're celebrating our centenary last year. And if you just continue, it does not work. So we know we have to push the boundaries and find more agility, more idea, more creativity, because we need to disrupt the market. If we don't do it, others will do it. And it comes from younger people, new ideas, platform business, and everything else, and mobility solutions, and everything else you can imagine and you know. But to achieve this, you need to work in a different environment.
Absolutely. I mean, I would really like to see a female-driven, automotive company, because I think that's long time due. We haven't had that yet. Quite the same.
No. You have. Maybe you can cut it after. But the CEO for General Motors is a woman.
No, what I meant was like a founded, like a female-founded company.
You could have. If you look at today in our industry, you have a lot of new car companies being created, and especially because of electrification.
Yeah.
And these new car companies are just being created by younger people, and electrification makes it a little bit easier. It is disruptive in the business, and they get some funds, and they have good projects, and they start to launch companies. You have many of them in China. You have some in California creating car companies. It is more likely to happen today that a woman will be then in charge and found the car companies than it will than before, because of this change of technology.
Christophe, we talked about diversity, embracing other people's points of views, but in a way, I want to maybe argue that social media, in some ways, is actually taking us away from diversity sometimes. It's not the platforms themselves, but it's how we use them, so because of the way that you're kind of getting reinforcement on the views that you already have. And sometimes maybe we are not getting challenged as much as we could be, because it is in the interest of these platforms for you to be seeing more of what you like, rather than exposing you to things that you may not know about. So one of the reasons why I came up with this idea for the platform that I'm building was because when I started raising funds, I realized that actually there were so many people who could be investors, but were not investing because they didn't know enough about it. And I wanted to build a platform, especially for women, to educate them on or expose them on topics such as investment and technology that maybe typically they wouldn't be exposed to. So because, for example, when women go on, say, Instagram, they're being shown a lot of makeup videos and, a lot of exercising their, their bottom and things like that. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels like there's a lot of emphasis on things like beauty and anti-aging and all sorts of things that aren't really, because that ultimately we have a limited attention span. We have a limited amount of, bandwidth in our brains. And if that bandwidth is taken up by things that are not really advancing us in science and technology, we are not getting exposed to things that we could be exposed to. So what is the solution in your opinion, from somebody who has been in the industry for so long? And maybe you could talk a little bit about what some companies, like your company, for example, Bentley, what could some corporations, big corporations, companies like you could do to change this, because I feel like we are stuck in this kind of echo chamber, where people are hearing more of what they, if somebody has clicked on something, they're just going to show them more of that. But we are not really encouraging things like critical thinking and exposing people to new ways of thinking about science and technology, especially women. So I feel like these algorithms are designed in a kind of detrimental way towards, when I think about towards that goal of getting more women into the top tier of business and technology.
Social networks and media, they work because it is fast. It is just working on surface. It has to be quick information we share with somebody, but it stays at a high level. It never goes into real detail. In terms of challenges we can get from people using social media could be people commenting about the need for car industry to be greener, to save the planet. And we understand it and we are working towards it and so on. But this does not solve any of the problem of diversity in companies. It is just pushing topics which are of interest for a lot of people. And then you have a quick look. You don't read everything, you transfer or not, and you read one or two first sentences. And if a video is longer than 40 seconds, you don't watch the end. The attention span is very little. Yeah, this is not a solution. I believe it's they have their utility in terms of communication. Probably when you use it well in terms of communicating about your brand, it's much easier and it's cheaper than traditional advertising, and you can be much more repetitive and you can create some buzz, etc. It has some communication benefits. But social media is not the right platform to basically support diversity, or is not really a tool for this. When you start to have more a specialized platform, going more in the detail of things and challenging industries or whatever with some more detail about some specific topic, then it starts to be probably more interesting in the way that this platform will create a set of new ideas and probably questions some industry do not ask themselves on some particular topic. And then it can be used as an idea generator, if you understand what I mean. And if these ideas are being basically part of or coming from a community of women, for example, it gives exposure. So what you are doing with your new platform could achieve this kind of objective, but what you are doing is absolutely not related to traditional social media. You know, it's really different. It's more profound. And one of our issues, as I said before, and coming back to women in industry, is first to be attractive, but to find them as well. Yes, when we have them in the company, we can develop career paths, we can work on retention plan for them to stay with us and be able to develop with us, work-life balance as well, and to make our companies a kind of a friendly environment, supporting their need, but developing them and so on. But the point is you need first to be attractive to them. And I will say, speaking as Bentley, we are very attractive for women who want to work for marketing and so on, because it's a luxury brand. And then we have a lot of pull. But for the other function, not really. And for new technology, not really. And this is what we need. Having the opportunity to look for the right talents in the platform like the one you are developing is quite valuable to us, because it gives us a solution. Where do you find the talents for the future? And the exposure you give to a platform going more in the detail of some technology and with some intelligence and debates and skills and competencies being discussed, and all the rest of it, give exposure to great individuals who could be attracted to us.
You mentioned that basically the traditional social media is not really built for that purpose of creating that kind of positive impact that I'm looking for, or I was hoping for. That's why I'm creating a whole new platform. I remember some people asking me in the beginning, how are you going to bring people every day to the platform to make sure that they use the platform and they spend time there? And I said, actually, I don't want them to do that. I don't need them to be on the platform every day, spend like hours there, because this is very different. It's like the way I look at it is more similar to something like Wikipedia, in the sense that you go there, you find something that you need, and then you leave, so it's not like this constant pressure of spending a lot of time there and your attention being driven in so many different directions. So of course, we are building that platform and we are trying to bring more women, first of all, find women who are in STEM fields, bring them into that platform, not just in STEM, but in particular, that's where we're pushing quite a lot. The other thing is that I'm also trying to get women who are not in that, especially younger women who are deciding what to do with their career, or maybe even not necessarily recent graduates, but people who are changing career, and getting them to think about going into that. What are some of the ways in which somebody like me can support that, to create programs that will encourage more women to learn, to go in? So say, for example, at Bentley, what are the kind of things that you're looking for, right? So because that will help us. So for people listening to this podcast, it'll be helpful for them to know what are companies like yours looking for, and how can they, and I'm talking about outside of the traditional kind of marketing and HR roles that are a lot of females going into. When it comes to surely in engineering and in sort of more technical fields, you also want to have more women there, right? So can you talk a little bit about what is it that you're looking for? What's the kind of female talent that you feel is really missing in your company?
So the entire technology is changing. So you need to bring new competencies. Can be in engineering related to electrification, but it's as well all about digital and connectivity and software. That's probably where traditional car manufacturers were lacking a little bit behind in terms of digital technology, embarked technology, but not only in the car, it's outside of the car as well. And this is where, we have to change very quickly. And as a group, there's a clear strategy to develop these skills and to become more of a software company in a way. But compared to where we are today, it's a massive change. So we will need new talents, new skills. Traditional people like me don't have the skills for it. I have ideas, but I don't have the skills to develop it and to create it. That's probably an area where not only our industry, but a lot of other industries will need new talent. So it's not only for women, for men as well, for everybody. This is a clear direction for the skills to acquire for the future, for the newcomers in the job market.
That's right. So one of the questions that we get quite a lot from people is, what should I study or what should I learn? Like I'm trying to re-skill, I'm trying to find a new direction. Or maybe sometimes they feel like, oh, I'm in my mid 30s or early 30s or even 40s, 50s, maybe sometimes 20. I've just come out of university. I've studied something that hasn't really led to me finding the kind of jobs that I'm looking for. You mentioned about the fact that you're looking for some of these new skills. Can you be a little bit more specific on some of the new roles that you can see for the next, say, 5 years that your company needs to develop, and other companies need to develop? And if for young people watching this, thinking about what should I study so that I can get that job?
Yes, I mean, there is a lot in different areas. And obviously it is linked to the preferences. I can give you an example, one area is the development of all these digital solutions. So for this, you need a more of a technical expertise. And the studies you will choose will be much more technical or system-oriented. But if you look in marketing or sales and marketing area, etc., that's where you will need to understand all digital solutions existing and how do they fit because with customer experience or motivation for future customers, how do we make them fit and align to what will be the need of consumer tomorrow and what will be the digital solution we will need to satisfy them in the future and where can we create a competitive advantage. So depending on what you like to do and your skills, you can either go totally to the technical side of it in terms of, big data, data management. It's always a huge topic and is becoming bigger and bigger. All programs, systems we need to technically to create the digital solutions, but this is much more, again, a technical expertise linked to systems. But then the other area, which is totally linked to the business, which can be sales, marketing, business management, etc., where you need to make choices in terms of technology you want to use and for what kind of benefits with a deeper customer view. And everything needs to start with the market customer needs today and tomorrow for the future. And then you need to develop the right solution for them, looking at what competitors do as well. So you don't need to be an expert in programmatics to develop systems, but you need to understand what system can do and where they can be, when the use cases make sense in our world for customers and for what kind of benefits. So it kind of covers a lot of traditional areas, but with a totally different mindset, if it makes sense.
Yes, because companies still need marketing, they still need sales, but we just need to think about it in terms of how we integrate new technologies into it, right? So the roles are the same, or like development of the design of the new kind of vehicles, basically the core of the business is the same, but it's about the way that we approach it using new technologies, if I understand correctly, right?
Customers like to be in relationship with the brand, Bentley as a company. Yeah? Obviously, we service our customers and deliver cars and sell cars through a distribution network. We have dealers everywhere in the world. This is the way we operate, and it will continue this way. Yeah? But they still want some direct contact with us. If we don't have digital, it's simply not possible. We can have contact centers and then but still it's not exactly the same value. As they want to have a direct contact with us. So we have digital solution allowing us to be more directly in contact with our customers, even if we are not creating any substitution or replacing the relationship customers have with our dealers. But we need digital solutions for it. So how does it work with the customer journey? How do we align all marketing tools we have in order for this to happen? So you need to understand what digital can do, but you as well need to understand how does it fit with the requirement of the business tomorrow. It covers a lot of areas, so you cannot just say to young people, you have to study programmatics and data management, etc. No, digital is everywhere. So it's their preferences, but they need to understand what kind of skill set will be needed tomorrow in sales, in marketing, in finance, in techniques linked to digital. And the skill set will evolve.
Yeah. So last question. I want to ask you, Christophe. Well, actually, I'm going to ask you two questions. One of them is about diversity and women, and one of them has nothing to do with it. It's just my interest. So penultimate question is going to be about how do you make sure as a company that when you put out a job description, that it feels welcoming towards women as well, like especially when it's very technical, because a lot of women have reported, from our research, a lot of women have reported that they feel that the language used in job descriptions, especially when it's like technical fields or when it's like around, let's say like a CEO level or CXO level, jobs, they feel that the job description to begin with is not very female friendly. The language that is used, they feel like it doesn't welcome them. Have you ever noticed that? Or
I didn't really notice this. You can say I should know to speak to a woman, but by law, we have to be extremely neutral. Yeah, you cannot make any kind of discrimination. It is valid for gender, race, and all other attributes. So we cannot be discriminatory in any way or sense. So we need to be extremely neutral in our job offer. No, I cannot, or in our advertising for jobs. So I don't have the perception that there will be more, or the language used will be more targeted to men. I don't believe this is not the way we look at it anyway. I mean, if it creates this perception, maybe, but this is not intentional if it happens. But I have not seen any kind of advert in our company being prescriptive in terms of gender.
I will send you some of the research that I saw around this. I think the argument that it's making is that a lot of times when what we think about as neutral really is more male. You even think about something like we say mankind, you know what I mean? Like things like that is like, we have so deep in our culture. But I do believe that a lot of companies may not be aware of it, how it's affecting, and the research is showing that it does seem to.
It depends probably on the company, in terms of who is making the advert. Is it an engineering department or is it HR? As far as they are concerned, HR is in charge of managing it. And you will be happy to know that within our HR function, we have woman gender is largely represented. So I do not see an issue with it for us.
Okay. Last question for today is from my interest, as you know, I've done a lot of work around heritage brands and luxury brands. I want to ask you, what, with everything that's happening in the world right now, with the post-pandemic era that we are living in, and with the changes that are happening in terms of technology, where do you see the future of luxury going?
Do you have 1 hour?
Yeah, just give me an overview. I think it will be very interesting for people. I mean, because I'm talking to it's not every day that you get to talk to the CEO of Bentley America. So this is a topic that's like right up your alley. And I think we've got you here. So I'm really interested to hear what you think about the future of luxury.
It's not what I really think. It is coming out of deep surveys we are conducting as a group as well. And having made a lot of analysis out of data from millennials or younger people and the way they see luxury in the future, there are some key differences and some values as well remaining the same. So I can give you some example. When we speak about authenticity today for luxury, this is absolutely going to stay and remain, and it will be even more important tomorrow because of social media, because of the way we communicate and the storytelling, the power of the narrative will be even more important. So luxury will need to be substantial and authentic, even more than today. Can not just be something decorative. You need substance behind it. And quite often when you speak about substance, it is the way you produce or the way you create your product with craftsmanship and so on. And the quality of the material you use, which creates a lot of stories, and the narrative and the storytelling will get even more power in the future. So that's great news to us because we are a luxury brand today. And if you are a luxury brand, it's partly because of this today. So this is a value which will remain and which will continue to create a competitive advantage to us. The value of craftsmanship, authenticity. You have as well some new values emerging. And new values emerging, we are speaking about the need for experience. So people want to enjoy product, not always buy them, but using them is enough. You don't buy your music, you're on Spotify or other, yeah, so you can, the usage become more important. Nobody has ever demonstrated to you that you are going to come back on Earth for a second chance. So you want to enjoy your life today. So if before we all wanted to have, our own home and some security because it is safe and you spend a big part of your life paying a mortgage, etc. But you have your home and you have your assets and this kind of a security for you in life, and you have something to give to your kids. In the future, again, it's different. You want to use it. Yes, you still want to support your kids, but you want to experience much more, incredible experience, and live a little bit more as well, in a proper sense. So, as a luxury brand, I mean, we are totally focused on this to create extraordinary customer journey, to provide incredible experiences, and it goes totally towards this direction. It comes always with, customer satisfaction, but it goes much further in terms of what kind of experience you can develop for them. And then you have mobility as well. Some people in the future might not want to buy a car, but only use a car. And already today, a lot of people are leasing cars. So when you lease a car, you are not owning it. It's already a kind of mobility service, but this has to be developed. Another aspect is the rise of communities, and this is valid for luxury. It is valid for any kind of position in the marketplace. People want to be individual, but be part of something. And as a luxury brand, obviously, we have a community of customers, and we have developed solutions for them to form a community, which as well is a support of the foundations for them as well to do great things. Because relevance is more important tomorrow than it has been before. Before, it's about enjoying all based on emotion. Emotion will remain forever, but it has to be relevant. You don't want a product destroying the planet, for example. Moving forward, you need to find solutions. It has to be relevant. If it is not relevant, young people will not be interested in it, and they will start to create some kind of social pressure on people buying products they see are not being relevant and counterproductive to the main cause we have in the world. So relevance is essential at the same time. So that's why we have to develop, green solutions, and we go for electrification, etc., to maintain relevance of our luxury brand. It's valid as well in different market sectors. And our customers as well, when they speak of sustainability and relevance, like, supporting communities, supporting great causes. And we can, as a community of customers around Bentley, create a platform for them to be able to support probably differently, or to channel a little bit the way they like to support communities. So overall, a luxury brand in the future, first of all, needs to be relevant. So you need to develop all this new technology. You need to be there to develop your services, experiences, because with customer in a certain way. You need new mobility solution, and obviously you have to keep everything which has created yourself as a luxury brand, like your history, your heritage, your DNA, your craftsmanship, authenticity. What you sell is not fake. But all these new values, are creating challenges and leading to the new technology we were speaking about before. We need to develop, we need to have, in order to maintain this relevance and to be there at the forefront to, I wouldn't say manage our customer, but deliver them the greatest experience, being in contact as well with the brand. So it's really an ecosystem, new values, but they all fit a little bit together. But this is probably the formula to be winning in the future as a luxury brand. And I could translate it for luxury brands who are not car makers. but because the same value remain.
I think that's that's a good place to end it, because it sort of brings together the need for using technology with some of the kind of traditional ways of looking at branding and heritage. It's a fascinating time that we are going into, and I think it'll be so interesting to see over the next 10 years, 20 years, how things will pan out, because I feel like we're going increasingly to live in a digital environment. So it seems like, more and more people are going to be living mostly digitally.
In short, we want to be the most sustainable luxury car brand, but sustainability in a wider sense. Yes, in terms of electrification, etc. And we have announced a clear objective or clear commitment that we are going to be fully electrified during these decades with BEV vehicles, only BEV vehicles in 2030. So we have made some commitments on this, but sustainability, it's about relevance, it's about the material you use, the provenance, they have to be ethical. It's about diversity. It's about supporting approach. It's about education. There's a full portfolio of topics included in sustainability. It's not only the environment. Diversity is part of it. So women's success is part of our strategy, in short.
Exactly, and I'm definitely going to be buying a Bentley. I want a Bentley and a Steinway. The two brands that I really like. More women Bentley owners, please. Thank you, Christophe. That was great.
I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Christophe Georges. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, and connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Instagram.